Tonight's City Council meeting has been called to order. Roll call, please.
Council members Costello.
Here.
Jamison.
Here.
Knutson.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Stagers.
Present.
Anderson.
Here.
Benninga. Brown.
Here.
We have a quorum present for tonight's meeting. Tonight will be led in the invocation by Pastor John Halverson from Augustine Lutheran Church here in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we have a pledge of allegiance, so I ask everyone to please rise.
God, we call on you with many names and from many different traditions. But tonight we come together and lift up our voices together, asking you to be with us, to guide us, to help us go about the business of our great city of Sioux Falls in a faithful, cooperative, loving, and caring manner. Almighty God, bless the public servants in the government of this great city of Sioux Falls, that they may do their work in a spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice. Help them use their authority to serve faithfully and to promote our common life. We ask this through your holy and precious name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Let's second it. Further motions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Stagers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present voted 7 yes, 1 excused. Is there a motion to approve the regular agenda?
So moved, Litz.
Let's move. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jamison seconds. Further motions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the regular agenda, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Stagers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present voted 7 yes, 1 excused. The regular agenda has been approved. This is a time to set aside a period of 5 minutes. Anyone wishing to address the council for 5 minutes, we just ask you to come forward and give your name. So anyone wishing to address the council, please come forward this time for 5 minutes. Come up, give your name, please. If some of you are here, and I just saw the sheet, are for the sidewalk that's coming up, if you want to wait for that one, that you'll have a chance for public input at that time. So if you want to come forward at that time, we'll be glad to hear you at that time. So outside of that, anyone that wishes to address the council, we just ask to give your name.
I am Patricia Malfero, the owner of Citywide Taxi, and Citywide Taxi is the second largest company in Sioux Falls. I have 20 employees that depend on this company for employment. We have become a vital service company for the Sioux Falls community. We provide a service for the blind and for the employees of Achieve and the residents of Sioux Falls in general. I am here tonight to ask for a rate increase for the taxis. I have conferred with Brent Kingsley of Yellow Cab. We would like to increase the drop charge to $2.60 and the mileage to $3.15 per mile and the wait time to $24 per hour. I have owned Citywide Taxi since August 2003. I have learned the taxi business by operating Citywide Taxi, and I have tried desperately to make a profit. I didn't expect to make a profit in the first 3 years of operation, but I believe that after that I should be able to, and it hasn't happened yet. I have been able to pay all the expenses except for in July of every previous year. last year was very difficult because of the price of gasoline. Not only did gasoline go up, but the products we use, the services that we use, and the replacement parts for the cars. I'm assuming they all went up due to the transportation costs, but none of the products or services or the car parts went down when the price of gasoline went down. For example, the fuel pump that used to cost me approximately $60 went up to $90 or more, depending upon the vehicle. This is an increase of 66%. Another example is office copy paper. I used to buy it on sale for $1.99 per rim. Now it costs me $2.99. That's another 66% increase. I can no longer absorb these kind of costs. Like any business, we should be able to pass on our costs to our customers. So this increase is really essential to our taxi businesses, and it really needs to happen soon. Summer is our slowest time of the year, and it begins in June. This year it came early. It began in April. This is not good, and we can use the relief as soon as possible. I have given you a handout that will explain the costs presently and another with the increased rates. What these handouts are, I've picked one day in May, which was May 13th, to average a trip and that a taxi may have done that day. The trip averaged 2 3/9 of a mile in length. Then I calculated the meter trip. Then I subtracted all the expenses per day, per trip, to show you that I'm operating in the red. On the increased rate sheet, I took the same mileage and also subtracted the expenses to show that I can make a profit. I will always try to keep my expenses down the best that I can. This is about all I have to say, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brent Kingsley.
What I would suggest with you is to do it. We can't do anything here on this, but Mike Cooper in the blue shirt there with a tie on right there, he is the gentleman to work with to do that because he handles that area. So to get something moving forward, would you just visit with Mike and work through him, and Mike can work with you on that?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tricia? Yeah. I guess, you're saying you want to raise your fares because of economic necessity, and I guess from my point of view, and I think some fellow council members, yeah, go ahead and raise them. Because I think it's very degrading that you have to come before the city council to say, hey, I want a fare increase. I mean, we don't have other businesses in the community doing this. And so I think the best thing would be to strive to get rid of this price fixing. Get rid of the ordinance, and you can go ahead and raise the price or lower the price, whatever you may do, and you don't have to worry coming before a political body. Would you be in favor of getting rid of price fixing?
Very much so, and I believe Brent Kingsley would
Another
be
thing you can
also.
do, you can take Councilmember Staggers, and you can work with him and draft an ordinance, and
Okay.
if you want to get rid of it or whatever you want to do, but normally, what they have done in the past is work through Mike Cooper, but you can have that choice what you want to do, so,
That would,
okay.
sounds like an excellent idea. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Others that wish to address the council for 5 minutes? Okay, come forward.
Brent Kinsley, 911 North Dakota. Thank you for giving me your time to speak for you. And I'm just going to make it real brief. And me and Pat are bound together on a business, but we still compete. The one thing that I think that this council should know is, first of all, as Councilman Staggers brought up, why are we being is our business regulated by this city? You know, you don't tell McDonald's how much to sell your hamburger for. And, you know, you can only charge what the market bears. I think this goes back, just to give you a little history, I think that this goes back to when there was an air base in this town. There was a whole slew of taxi companies that would take advantage of the enlisted personnel and any any service person. The one thing that I want you to really take into account with this rate increase is that the minimum wage since our last rate increase, which was November of 2007, the minimum wage has gone up 24%. It went from $5.65 to $7.55. That's going to come due or it's going to be effective July 24th. That's a huge amount, and you know, we're just trying to do business here, and I don't know why we got to be coming to you begging all the time. Pat, her proposal is a little bit more than what I had sent you, so if there's any gray areas, if you're asking questions why I asked for less than her, it's because I'm just trying to get along. But what she's asking for, or what we're asking for, is the max rate. So that if any of this is, I know it's only an informational thing, but just so you have some background. Thank you for your time, and I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
and I'd say the same thing. Either work with Mike, and if you want, you can pick a council member. They can introduce an ordinance as well. But if you want to talk to Mike, the blue shirt. So thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council for public input for 5 minutes? Okay, I see no one coming forward, so we will move into the regular agenda. Item number 1.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations for expenses related to the Pettigrew Heights Neighborhood Housing Resource Center.
Good evening, Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is a grant that the city has received, a generous donation from the City Foundation that we would like to use towards the operation costs for a housing resource center as part of our Pettigrew Heights neighborhood improvement process. We are working with the Sioux Empire Housing Partnership and the Volunteers of America to facilitate this housing resource center. The location that we have established is in the Bowden Youth Center. And this housing resource center is something that has been proposed by our neighborhood committee that we've been meeting with on a regular basis. This is a location that people can go to get information about not only housing programs, but also financing, information about home ownership, landlords, rental procedures, and so forth. The idea is that it would be a one-stop shop location for various types of public information. The staffing is done by volunteers. There's no other city funds that are used to operate this. It's operating on Tuesday and Thursdays, and then every third Saturday. And as I say, the activities and information that's going to be available there is going to expand as we work through this pilot process. Some of the programs that we have already scheduled are going to be talking about a Pettigrew Heights development plan, urban agricultural gardening in conjunction with the Lowell Elementary School, a neighborhood watch program. The Summit House and Helpline Center will be making some presentations in the future. We'll be having seminars on home repairs. And so those are the kind of activities and programs that we would like to make available to the neighborhood. So again, this will allow us to utilize the $40,000 grant towards the cost of providing this housing resource center.
Questions of Mike on item number 1?
Yeah, Mike, I'm glad the City Foundation gave the city $40,000, but that's not going to last forever. Do you anticipate in the future then the city will have to start subsidizing this planning or this neighborhood housing resource center? Or not?
I think our first goal would be to look at other resources that we could capture through maybe other nonprofit organizations. And then this first year, this first 12 to 18 months, it's going to tell us, how successful it's going to be, if we need to expand or increase the hours of operation. So that will help us judge what the future funding might be required.
Thank you.
Others that wish to address the council on item number 1? Not. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Costello moved. Is there a second?
Second, Anderson.
Anderson, seconds. Yes, it is. Yeah, excuse me, that's right. Jamie, it's just first reading, so let's move on to item 2.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 17 entitled Food and Food Handlers by adding a definition of temporary food establishment, along with establishing a follow-up inspection fee and temporary event fee in Chapter 15 and a half entitled Fees.
Jill Franken, Assistant Health Director. The Health Department is coming for you again this year to revise Chapter 17 to include definitions of temporary food event and reinspection of food service, grocery, and food processing. We are also, as well, asking to revise Chapter 23 to establish a reinspection fee along with temporary event fee for health, the latter of which was inadvertently applied to Chapter 15 and a half in the initial agenda handouts. Also recommended are increases to food processing, selling, and tattoos establishments, their license fees. The changes to Chapter 23 were omitted in the first draft of the amendment but are included before you at this time. I want to thank Deborah Owen and the Clerk's Office for correcting the first reading. In explanation of these, if you remember, our goal that we brought before you last year was to annually increase and incrementally increase the license and permit fees so that we could cover the costs of doing that work for the city. We are recommending then to continue with those incremental increases, which started in 2009 with those fees, and to increase over an additional 4 years for a total of 5 years of incrementally increasing those fees until our revenue is in line with our expenses, particularly for that cost of service. And then after that, we will just we will adjust those as it is deemed necessary, whether that be yearly or every other year. Additionally, 2 new fees are recommended, and to include a reinspection fee, which will the fee will be $64, and then a temporary event fee of $22. These fees have been discussed at the fiscal committee meetings and are per council recommendation. Also, as it relates to license fees, the state this year approved a 50% increase in the fees for 2010, which will increase revenue from the state for restaurant inspections completed by our department. Because of these state fee increases and the 2 new fees that we would like to implement, what was roughly planned to be about a 48% increase this year for restaurants and groceries is now we're recommending a 20% increase. We had promised that we would look at the number of licenses we need to issue, the changes in the state fees, which they did approve that increase, and then new fees added to ordinance. And all those things taken into consideration, along with where we're at in our expenses from year to year, will then create what is that incremental increase. So we're recommending a 20% increase for those fees. So, for example, rather than increasing for the 0 to 2,500 square foot restaurant fee, which would have gone from $105 to $155, for a $50 increase this year, we would go to from $105 to $126, or a $21 increase. In summary, as we indicated last year, with the initial rollout to plan to increase fees, we'll evaluate this, the ratio of revenue expenses for licensing and inspecting of establishments, and we'll adjust those as necessary based on the factors that I described. As we did last year, we again plan to send out a letter to affected establishments letting them know of the changes that are approved by council. At the second reading, I will need to ask for a motion from the council to amend the ordinance revision to include the changes in the chapter where the temporary event and reinspection fee will be located from Chapter 15 and a half to 23, as well as the increases in fees for existing inspection licensing processes, also in Chapter 23.
Questions of Jill? Go ahead.
Yeah, Jill, can you say something about the temporary event fee? I mean, people do all kinds of, have temporary events. Can you explain who that will apply to?
There are numerous temporary events in the summer, and like you just said, with that, they do a whole host of different activities, one of that being serving food. So for those, when we are meeting and looking at all the temporary events and special events for the summer and issuing those permits, or they come in and they want to do something where they're serving food, that's where we will apply this temporary event fee. We already are doing temporary event fees via the state. They do have one for-profit organizations that are holding temporary events. This would allow the city then to also add for all temporary event entities a additional small fee.
So if a church has serving hot dogs out on their parking lot, are they going to have to get a temporary event fee?
We encourage all temporary events to come and ask for a temporary event fee. We do that on a request basis when they come to our department. So
does this ordinance say they have to have a temporary event fee? Churches that are serving hot dogs out on a parking lot?
What we're saying is the temporary food establishment means a food service establishment that operates at a fixed location for a period of time of not more than 14 consecutive days in conjunction with a single event or celebration. So that's a food service establishment.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about the churches, just to make sure.
Correct.
Okay. And then also, too, you mentioned that the inspection, for $126 for an inspection, I think, did you say restaurants? Is that right, what it's going to be?
Correct. That would be for
okay.
one size of restaurant. We have, and I can bring that to the next meeting if you'd like a chart that details out for 0 to 2,500 square feet, 25 to 5,000, and over 5,000.
So the restaurant that's going to be inspected for $126, how long is the inspector there normally? I know it varies, of course, but roughly.
They're usually there about an hour, and that's twice a year, and that's the length of time that they're typically there. That can vary certainly depending on what they're finding during the inspection.
Okay, so they're inspected twice a year. Do they just pay once, $126 per
Correct.
year? Okay, so that'd be about $63 per visit then to inspect. Okay, and then just one other question I have here. It's estimated that the expenses next year for this is $340,000. How many inspectors do we have doing this?
We have 5 inspectors that do restaurant inspection.
And I would suspect that the $340,000 is mostly their salary. Is that fair to say?
It also includes the technical clerk salaries. It also includes supplies, all of our IT equipment, vehicles that they use to go out and travel for the inspections, mileage or fuel for that. Those are all included.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Further questions? Go ahead.
Joe, when we had this in committee, we also discussed a re-inspection fee in case an inspector had to come back and do a second inspection
Yes.
on a failure. Did we add anything
Yes,
to that?
that is the $64 fee, and the language is included as well in here. And that will be conducting a follow-up inspection for those. When we go out and we do an inspection, then if we have to, within either 10 days or 30 days, go back to do a re-inspection, then we will apply a fee to that particular re-inspection.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? No, thank you, Joe. 3.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its wastewater system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of the proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the wastewater system revenue of the city to the payment of said wastewater system revenue bond, fixing the terms of such wastewater system revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such wastewater system revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District not to exceed $8,462,000.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. Mayor, tonight we have a short presentation that involves item 3 and 4, and so we would request that item 4 also be read.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the issuance of its sanitary landfill revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, authorizing the use of the proceeds thereof for capital improvements, pledging a portion of the landfill revenue of the city to the payment of said sanitary landfill revenue bond, fixing the terms of such sanitary landfill revenue bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement between the city and the South Dakota Conservancy District, and authorizing the execution and delivery of such sanitary landfill revenue bond to the South Dakota Conservancy District, not to exceed $1,970,000.
Okay, thank you very much. Tonight's items 3 and 4 deal with two divisions within Public Works: water reclamation, which highlights the Central Main reconstruction work. That's the backbone sewer of the City of Sioux Falls that follows along the Big Sioux River. One segment was reconstructed this year, and this loan, which would reconstruct 3 additional segments of that sanitary sewer. It would also allow us to initiate the preliminary engineering to finalize the selection of the next treatment plant for the City of Sioux Falls on the east side of Sioux Falls. Next is the Sioux Falls Regional Landfill. This project would add an approximately 40 additional gas wells, as well as conduct a perimeter fencing project. Next slide, please. Again, you've seen these slides, so we will just go through them quickly. That's the landfill gas building at the landfill. Inside is the conditioning equipment that conditions the gas and also compresses it and sends it to the Poet ethanol plant in Chancellor. Cross-section of a typical landfill gas well. There is the pipelines that remove the gas and the leachate from the landfill and direct them to their appropriate places. Close-up of a landfill gas well. Here are the 3 sections of the large sewer pipe that will be reconstructed with this loan. 3 different areas in the core of the city. There's a second map without the aerial photography turned on. This is a section of pipe that was removed this summer, and it's a 60-inch concrete pipe. One of the things we highlighted last time is that when this pipe was put in the 60s, it had an original wall thickness of 8 inches, and just with the corrosive nature of sanitary sewer, the top wall thickness has deteriorated, and so we're down to 4 inches. Again, this area that was replaced this year is the worst area of the Central Main, and now as we work south, eventually to the Tudd Hill lift station, it will all be updated. This is a picture of the type of pipe that goes in, and it will resist the corrosive nature of sanitary sewer. This is an additional slide that we added now, and we also have our bond counsel, Doug Hayek, here tonight, but as it relates to items 3 and 4, the water reclamation revenue commitment, this again allows us to take advantage of the 10% principal reduction that's being offered through the stimulus. And so essentially the loan amount is for $8.462 million at 2.25% for a term of 10 years. Once the project actually draws up on that amount, at that point is when DNR provides the 10% principal forgiveness, which is stated there, and then we go into a 10-year annual payment of $852,599. Conversely, with the sanitary landfill loan, that work will be done this year, and that has a capital expense of $1.97 million. Again, once that project is let and we draw up on those funds, at that point is when the DNR has the 10% principal forgiveness, and then they amortize out the balance for the remaining 10 years. And the annual payment from landfill revenues would be $198,499. Next slide. We also, again, as I said, we have Doug Hayek here, so if you have any questions for myself or Doug, we will attempt to answer them.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mark, I had a couple of curiosity questions here. One of them, you talked about the gas conditioner for the methane out at the city dump. You put the conditioner in there. Are you trying to reduce the corrosiveness out of it, or and improve the flow. What are you talking about when you say conditioning the fuel?
Well, I think we actually have the designer of the system here tonight, and so we can actually have him do a short narrative of it. Matt Evans.
Matt Evans, RW Beck. The gas conditioning equipment is simply filtering the gas, compressing and drying the gas. So there's nothing more to it than that, which is just oftentimes referred to as gas conditioning.
Okay, thank you, Matt. The other question I had was, I've been very interested in that sewer line that you're putting in across the river, and I noticed where it crosses south of the dam. Is that correct? Crosses the Sioux River? The sewer
Go
lines?
back to that slide. Go back a little bit farther. Right there.
That one there, yeah. Now you're crossing the river there. That's south of the dam, is that correct?
That's correct.
You do that sometime in August, I presume. Will you be letting the dam out to reduce the backflow of water up in that section there when you do that?
Well, we've got two options. Obviously, for the Big Sioux River flows, we've got the diversion channel that we can send the Big Sioux River flows down, and then we'll obviously have to try to work with the dry seasons of Skunk Creek to do the work in the lowest flow area.
I was curious, 'cause I spent a lot of time down there hopping around the rocks and stuff with my kids, and, it'd be nice to get that cleaned up, some of those big logs and stuff out of it. I was wondering, is there any chance of that being in the works as well? Is that a possibility? Is that parks? Or?
We can certainly check into that for you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Further questions?
Yes, Mark, you mentioned that this first loan that you mentioned is going to be for Phase 2, 3, and 4. Then on your map, you had down segments 5 and 6. Are we going to have phases 5 and 6, or is this it? Or
No, we just showed those additional segments. They are in the 5-year capital plan, but they're not included in this loan.
okay, so we actually have 2 more phases. Then
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, too, this new pipe we're putting in, any projection how long this is going to last?
They expect this is a 100-year pipe. It's called a Hobos pipe.
Okay.
So,
And then finally, in regard to you said 4 additional wells,
40.
40 additional wells at the landfill. That's going to generate a lot more for the Poet plant. So they'll be able to take all that additional production and use it, and will it make more money?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's one of the key reasons why we're actually accelerating that piece, is because it is the one opportunity for the landfill to take advantage of stimulus dollars to get 10% principal forgiveness, but then also get those wells in sooner and not use user fees, cash to do it. And so by the end of summer, those are certainly a potential to be running.
And so then Poet will be taking all of our product that we're producing with these additional wells then?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mark, if we can go back to that map there. Okay, one back. Okay. Right there I showed, basically there's the River Greenway project there.
Yes.
Now, are we going to do,
That was already done.
that was already done, so that's, okay. I was wondering, because if we were going to do that in conjunction with the River Greenway, but,
We did that in advance of the Shrapa construction. And so that segment was pulled out of sequence to do, to make sure that we could meet the other timelines. And now this work will follow through.
very good.
Okay?
Further questions of either items 3 or 4? Not, we'll move to 5.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city, revising sewer utility rates and charges.
Mayor, also with this item, as we've talked earlier, we have a presentation. I have some comments that we would share if we could also read 6 and 7.
Granted.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by increasing water rates. 7, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the schedule of rates to be charged by the city light and power department for furnishing electric, current for light and power purposes.
Thank you. As the council just sat through about a 56-slide presentation by the team that's here that has studied the rates for 2010. I can do some summary comments, but I would encourage all that are here or listening that if they have the opportunity to go on Granicus, watch the full presentation. If they also still have questions, they can call our office at Public Works and we can walk through those questions. But again, in summary, as we speak to the residential rates for sanitary sewer were projected in 2009 to be raised by 16%. We've reevaluated the utility, and again, we are consistent with that recommendation of raising the meter and flow by 16%. There is other factors that are included in the rate structure, but tonight we'll just highlight residential. Again, this will be if you have a consumption of 7,500 gallons, would equate to $3.77 increase monthly in your sewer bill. Item 6, water rate adjustments. Again, to highlight the residential rate adjustments in 2009 as we do multi-year capital plans as well as look out of what we believe our O&M costs will be. In 2009, we projected that for 2010 there'd be a 14% rate increase needed, and the analysis also shows that this year, and so our recommendation is to raise these rates, water rates for residential by 14%. Again, there's a number of other classes that are included in the documents that you have with council, but that would be affecting the meter and flow, which the result of 14% increase, again, if you have a consumption of 7,500 gallons per month, some use more, some use less, but this would equate to $3.55 more per month. Combining the water and sewer rates for that same amount is an additional cost monthly of $7.32. Again, the key with all these three that we're recommending to do rate adjustments, they do not go effective until January 1 of 2010. And then last, item 7, which is the light department. And again, the light department has its own prescribed territory, has about 1,600 residential customers, primarily has government customers, doing across-the-board rate recommendation of 5% increase. Again, in 2009, we were projecting that there would be about a 4% rate increase for 10. In looking at what the WAPA costs will be to purchase power, as well as Heartland, as well as other O&M costs, that 4% is being recommended to be raised to 5%. Again, Mayor and City Council, there was a very good presentation, detailed presentation put on today by the team, and now with the capabilities of Granicus and web streaming, that if after people see that presentation and have any questions, they can certainly call our office.
Questions, Mark, at 5, 6, or 7? Not, thank you very much. Okay, let's go back. Is there a motion to set the hearing date for June 15th for items 1 through 7?
So moved. Let's
move. Is there
I'll
a second?
second that motion. Knutson.
Knutson second. Let's make the motion. Knutson second. Set the hearing date for June 15th for items 1 through 7. Further comments? All in favor of that motion, set that hearing date, will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes?
Brown?
Yes.
All members present voted. The hearing date has been set for June 15th for items 1 through 7, 7 yes and 1 excused. Item number 8.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of said city by changing a street name, South Bob Drive to South Canyon Avenue.
Good evening, Chad Hebe with the Engineering Division of Public Works. Bob Drive is on the south side of East 26th Street, east of Highway 11, and will be an entrance into the Copper Creek development. Approximately 200 feet south of 26th Street the road will be named South Canyon Avenue. The developer and 2 adjacent property owners are requesting this name change. The street name change conforms with city standards and is supported by staff.
Questions of Chad on item number 8?
Just a comment. Personally, I don't care for this one, Chad, but I do understand. So.
Well, you got a chance to vote now. Okay. Any other questions? If not, is there a motion at the hearing date for July 13th?
I so move Knutson.
Moved by Knutson, seconded by?
Brown.
Brown.
Second.
Knutson made a motion, Brown seconded. To set the hearing date for July 3rd for item 8, all in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present vote. The hearing date has been set for July 13th. 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 9.
Deferred action, a resolution approving the cost recovery roll for construction of the East Side sanitary sewer system.
This item was deferred at the May 11th council meeting. The resolution of necessity to construct Phase 1 of the East Side sanitary sewer system was approved by the City Council in March of 2005. The resolution stated that only areas which could be served by gravity flow would be included. The prior recommendation was to remove the properties in Basin 23B from the cost recovery because they could not be served by gravity flow. There are 22 parcels in Basin 23B owned by 14 entities. A meeting was held with the property owners in Basin 23B on May 20th. During the meeting, the owners requested the city further evaluate alternatives for them to be included in the area, since they were originally notified that they were in the cost recovery area. Consequently, we developed 5 new alternatives and presented these at the June 3rd Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board meeting. Our recommendation is that the properties in 23B are included in the East Side sanitary sewer system cost recovery at a reduced density. The reduced density will decrease the amount of sewage generated, which will in turn decrease the size of the lift station, shorten the length of pipe required, and change the pumping route. The cost recovery amounts will be approximately $4,665 for undeveloped areas and $1,641 for existing residences. This alternative reduces the cost recovery amount, as presented in May, approximately $100 for undeveloped areas and $31.70 for existing residences. This alternative was approved by the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board. Because the property owners in Basin 23B were just notified of the reduced density change, I am requesting a deferral to June 15th to address any of their questions.
Is it appropriate to do the deferral at this moment?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'd make a motion to do the deferral till June 15th.
Second?
Second, Costello.
Costello, second. Motion been made to defer item number 9 until June 15th. Motion been made, the motion been seconded. All in favor of that motion, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
I think we might have somebody who wants to address.
Can you be here next week? And you aren't coming next week then, or just tonight? Okay, that's fine then.
Bob Phelan, 9120 East 41st Street. I understand the cost recovery, and I understand that everyone needs to pay their fair share. The question I'd like to pose to you is the calculation that's being done on the cost recovery, how fair is it, the way it's being done? At the informational meeting, I raised a couple of questions, and the answers that I received were somewhat canned and scripted, and I'd like to raise those same scenarios to you folks and let you just kind of mull them over in your mind. This new cost recovery that they've got out, going by the per acre rate, and that doesn't affect me because I'm an existing landowner, so I have the rural residential exemption. The acreage rate that they're using on this leads me to wonder, in a situation where I've got some neighbors that have large parcels of land, And in the first example, let's just say that one of those neighbors wants to deed or sell 10 acres of land to one of their kids, one of their grandkids, a neighbor's son, whatever, to build a nice home on a larger parcel of land and have some horses, you know, the kind of the Midwest dream. Well, in that scenario, that person, when they build that house, is going to have to pay $46,600 towards the cost recovery. Now, in the second scenario, let's look at a landowner out there decides to sell 10 acres to Lloyd Properties. They build a 100-unit apartment complex on that same 10 acres. I asked the question, what are they going to have to pay towards the cost recovery? $46,600. Is that fair? You have someone that's going to be placing 100 times more use on that sewer than that individual homeowner, and they're paying the same rate. Now, I'm not saying that Lloyd Properties should have to pay $460,000. That would be wrong, or whatever the number ends up being. What I would like to have you good people do is to just look at whether or not the acreage rate is a fair way to assess this cost assessment. I think it might be more fair to look at it by a per connection or per household or per use type of fee. And I know how difficult it is to calculate that, but Mr. Cotter mentioned in the last meeting that 2.5 residences per acre were used to come up with the cost recovery figures to begin with for the per acre rate. Well, if you can calculate 2.5 residences per acre by historic measures, you should be able to calculate how many apartment complexes there could be, how many strip malls there could be. You could put 16 stores on an acre of ground in a strip mall. I would just like you good folks to just, take a good hard look at whether or not the cost recovery is being applied fairly by the per acre rate. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we got a motion to defer item number 9 until June 15th. The motion has been made, the motion has been seconded. Further comments? If not, is all in favor of the motion to defer item 9 to June 15th? Vote yes, those opposed no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 9 has been deferred until June 15th, 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 10.
A resolution approving the special assessment roll for repair, replace concrete sidewalk on various streets and avenues in the Sidewalk Inspection District of 2001.
The Sidewalk Inspection District 2001 is bordered by 41st Street on the north, I-29 on the east, 69th Street on the south, and the western city limit. This area was inspected in 2006. 789 letters were sent out in November of 2006 notifying the properties of the needed repairs and given a completion date of September 1, 2007. 711 of the 789 repairs were completed by the property owners. The remaining sidewalks were repaired under a city contract in 2008. This resolution will assess 78 properties, $37,730.12 for the repairs in accordance with state law.
Questions of Chad? Go ahead.
Yeah, Chad, I mentioned to you earlier that some of these assessments are really quite high, like $1,157, $2,696, $1,199, $1,121, $1,688, $1,851, and so forth. And I don't know, do you have any insight as to why they're so high? Considering this is not a particularly old area of the city, why do we have so much costs involved here?
Councilman Staggers, I looked up the property at 5620 West 56th Street. I believe the total assessment is $2696.78.
Sure, yes. Mm-hmm.
And all I can give you with what I have tonight is that There was 175 feet of 4-inch concrete sidewalk that was replaced. There was 72 feet of 6-inch concrete sidewalk. And let me rephrase that. I'm thinking this was square yards, not feet. There was 18 square yards of 6-inch concrete approach pavement and 2 tree root removals. So the bulk of that cost, or half of it, was associated with replacing the concrete driveway approach, and the rest of that was sidewalk. But I could get you more details.
I guess, as you were talking about, where this inspection took place, I mean, I was just surprised that, I could understand a little bit more if it was in an older area of the city, but this is a relatively new area. And,
this area might be, 25, 30 years old, which could certainly justify sidewalk repairs.
Thanks for the information, though.
You're welcome.
Further questions on 10? Ken?
On this, Chad, I guess some further information I'd like how much we're charging per square foot of concrete. Do you have that, or?
Yes, I do. The 4-inch concrete sidewalk was $4.72 a square foot. The estimate we gave when the council approved the resolution of necessity was $6 a square foot. The 6-inch concrete sidewalk is $5.80 a square foot. The estimate we gave at the time of resolution of necessity was $6.50. The assessment for 6-inch concrete approach pavement is $54 a square yard. And the assessment for the tree removal each is $75 each.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions on 10? Others that wish to address the council on item number 10? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I so move Knutson.
Knutson moves, second.
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconds. Further comments on the motion to approve item 10?
Yeah, in talking about repairing sidewalks, this is, I think, a rather easy issue to understand, at least from my perspective. And that is, these sidewalks belong to the city of Sioux Falls. And the city of Sioux Falls is requiring adjacent property owners to pay for this. I think that really the city of Sioux Falls should take responsibility for its own property and pay for these repairs of the sidewalk. We're talking here about a total of $37,730. Our $412 million budget can take care of this.
Can you respond to that?
Absolutely. I guess a major responsibility that I have with my position is making sure that the city ordinances and state statutes are followed, and state statute specifically gives the city authority to assess these costs.
And when I was in the state senate, I tried to have a measure passed whereby cities would be responsible for their own property, including sidewalks. And this would be a good message to send to the citizenry if we would actually do this. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, but it would still be a good message if we would take responsibility for our own property. Also, too, just one quick question, Chad, I happen to think of. Did we notify these individuals that there are some guidelines that if people fall below a certain income level, the city can pay for this?
I believe that's included in the letter they received.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Got a motion been made and seconded to approve item number 10. Further comments? I see none, so all in favor of the motion to approve item 10 will vote yes, those opposed no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excused. Item 10 has been approved. Item 11.
A resolution declaring the necessity to construct sidewalk on various streets and avenues in the city of Sioux Falls and assessing the cost of each lot or tract of land benefiting thereby.
In 2008, 59 properties were sent letters requesting that they install sidewalks in accordance with City Ordinance 38-39. The ordinance states the construction of a permanent sidewalk fronting or abutting all streets, highways, and avenues shall be accomplished by the builder, owner, or developer of all new or relocated residential and commercial buildings within the city. 37 of the 59 properties notified have installed sidewalk. The city will install sidewalk on the remaining 2 properties and assess these costs to those properties in accordance with state law. I respectfully request that the council make an amendment to page 2 of the resolution. The north and west sides of Circle Drive from end of West 33rd Street to cul-de-sac and the 2 legal descriptions listed should be removed from this resolution. These property owners have already constructed their sidewalk.
Where are you at there in that, Chad?
This would be page 2, where it lists the addresses and parcels that'll be included on the resolution of necessity. And the last 2 properties on page 2 are the north and west sides of Circle Drive from end of West 33rd Street to cul-de-sac.
You're talking track 24 and track 23 and 24?
I'm talking tract 44 Shamrock tracks and tracks 23 and 24 Shamrock tracks. Those 2 have installed.
They need to be amended out?
Yes.
Okay. When we get there, we'll... Other questions of Chad on item number...
Chad, how do we decide on what areas of the city we enforce the sidewalk ordinance on?
All areas.
Okay. I guess the reason I'm asking, because as I'm driving around the city, I notice a lot of areas in the city that are maybe high-density areas or high-traffic areas with people walking that don't have sidewalks. And they're older areas of the city, and I'm just wondering how come those areas don't have sidewalks also?
The older areas of town are addressed on a complaint basis. We're taking a more, I guess, positive approach with when new houses are constructed, that sidewalks are built per the city ordinance. And so we're making an active attempt to make sure that these parcels build their sidewalks, and the older areas of town are put in as complaints come up. I will just comment, like when Rosa Park School was built on the northeast side of town, one of the biggest things that came up was sidewalks for children to get to school that were close enough that they couldn't be bussed. So we had to work with the school district to install a concrete or an asphalt bike trail, per se, kind of through a bean field. Now, as we're looking at the new school in the southwest part of town, we've spent the last several months making sure that kids have a route, and we've dealt with a couple different property owners out there where there aren't sidewalks yet or there's undeveloped lots, trying to make sure they have a path to get there. When the new Harrisburg School was opened, we went out to that area because we knew often with schools there is some sidewalk issues with the children. So we went out to that area and noticed that there was several parcels that had not. They had residents living in these new houses and no sidewalks.
Further questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, Chad, I think you can make some kind of argument that if a sidewalk is in front of your house, a city sidewalk is in front of your house, that you can receive some benefits. You can make some kind of argument. But how can you make an argument of a sidewalk that's in your backyard and you have a fence up between your house and that sidewalk, how you benefit from it?
I'm just following and enforcing the ordinance.
But we have it in the resolution here. It says benefiting thereby. That shouldn't be in the ordinance then, should it?
I can't speak to the what language is included in the ordinance.
To amend it out. Yeah.
You know, council would have to amend it out if you want to move that way, you can do it, but that's the direction you have to go. So, further questions on item number 11? Others that wish to address the council on item number 11?
My name is Juanita Schmunk. 6808 South Avalon Circle is my address, and this sidewalk directly impacts not only myself, but an entire block of our neighborhood. When we look at item 11, actually, thank you, Chad, for the map. Item 11 right here, we built the house about 5 years ago, and at that time specifically asked, do we need a sidewalk in the back of the house? And the answer was no. After that, we noticed that there was construction going on with there's businesses that are constructing across the street of Lindcrest, which are on the Minnesota side, Minnesota Avenue side. At the time those buildings went up, questions were raised to the city. I made calls to the city clarifying where the sidewalk needs to be held, and the sidewalk was at that time instructed needs to be on the business side. So the businesses were aware, and it was in their plans to put sidewalks on that side of the street. At that juncture, there was also, I believe it was last year, when there was a change in for building rezoning. At that time, made a call to the city, clarified where does the sidewalk need to be. The sidewalk would need to be on the business side. So I've had 3 different instances in which I've actively gone out to ensure, do I need to have this sidewalk here, and was told, no, I do not. And at this time, by the way, I would love to have the prices that were quoted last time. The letter that I received for a tree removal would be $250. Constructing a 4-inch thick sidewalk would be $3.50 per square foot. I have 140 square feet on the back side of my home because I live on a cul-de-sac. It is very frustrating that this is not something where, as a neighborhood, we sat and decided we're not going to put the sidewalk in. It was obviously something that, as the entire area was developed, there's not a sidewalk from La Quinta to 77th Street on the residential side of where we are at. And so many of my neighbors are here and certainly understand that a lot of this came in regards to the Harrisburg School. Having children that go to that Harrisburg School, having recognized, who is walking behind the house and going to school, the children aren't even going that direction. In fact, children across from Minnesota Avenue are bused. Children that would come from the apartment complex on La Quinta actually go right up La Quinta to walk to the school. And there are sidewalks on 77th. So certainly something that we understand, we recognize. One idea that I know that our neighbors have thought of is, if it's so much needed to have an area to walk, could we potentially look at making that a no parking zone, maybe even having an area of walking or a biking path out on that street there, being that the business has parking for their businesses that they're developing there. The cost for this particular sidewalk, just in my home alone, would estimate about $3,000. A cost that would have been significantly less had that been brought to my attention at the time of building the home. So, thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you very much. Others that wish to address the council?
Yeah, Robert Van Beek, 8001 East 10th Street. Now, as it reads here, now I'm still in the county, but I got the city all the way around me. Necessary to construct sidewalks on various streets and avenues in the city of Sioux Falls, assuming the cost of each tract land benefiting land. I like how you put benefiting land. Now, I'm only like a quarter of a mile from Fred Aston School. See, I'm to the south of it. 10th Street is where I come out, our driveway. Well, it might be 2-3 years from now, 4 years from now, but we can remember this night when benefiting land, it won't benefit us ever. Now, on the other side is Van Brusken, and that's fine. Where would they put the sidewalk? It might be hard now to say, well, we don't know. We don't need it on our south side because we have a quarter of a mile. And 6 Mile Road, too, is a quarter of a mile. But just like the sanitary sewer system, we never wanted it, and we just got it shoved to us. And this was just by accident that I read this tonight, a tract of land bedding training. It's always benefiting somebody that don't need it. Here you go, help us pay for it. I can see this coming too, just like the sanitary landfill, the sanitary sewer system. We didn't want the damn thing, we got it shoved to us. I can see a half mile coming here and this will get shoved to us too. I don't care. I wish you people, when you live there, you could feel what me and my dad have felt. I know this will never be for our benefit. Anything the city of Sioux Falls ever does benefits the little guy. It benefits the big guy. The little guy is there to get a vote, put you in office, and help pay for the damn thing. That's what the little guy's for.
Talk about the issue. You're stepping out of line on me.
No, I'm not stepping out of line.
Yes, you are, and I'll call you out of order in a minute.
Because
I'm asking you to address the issue, but I don't want you to start getting personal, start attacking council members and telling them they're for the fat cat. So, listen, I'm in control of this chair, and I'm asking you to address the issue, and I'm asking you respectfully. If you don't, I'm asking you to step down.
You don't. What I'm trying to say is,
but do it respectfully.
The city, they descend on it's going to benefit the land. I mean, same thing. It's never benefited us what they've done before. I can see this in the future, just giving us a headache too. If it's 3 years, 4 years, might be next year, might be 2 years from now. It sounds good just for right now. It's in Sioux Falls, but we got Sioux Falls all around us. I know how you work. Next thing, well, it'll be 2 years from now or 5 years, or it might be tomorrow. What I'm trying to say is, benefiting the land. I mean, how do you determine that it's going to be? It won't benefit us, but we'd have to pay for it. That's what I'm trying to say. And you say, well, you're out of line. No, I'm not out of line.
No, you were out of line. Don't tell me that.
The city of Sioux Falls is out of line when they give us no choice. So far, they never gave us any choice. They never have.
Are you in the city right now?
I'm in the county, but the sanitary sewer systems
Went
aren't
through your
land.
property. We're talking the sidewalk now.
That's right. I can see the same thing happening there. It'll happen here. How do they figure it'll benefit your land? That's what I'm trying to say. That's what my question is. It says benefit, like it's going to benefit you. You're going to get a dividend. It's going to do so much. No, it never does do any good. The little guy, just like this woman, they tell you so much, and then when the final day it does come along, it's a big surprise. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what it's a question now that when it comes to us, Mr. Van Beek, 5 years from now, this is what I said it would be. I mean, it ain't going to benefit us. It's just for somebody else. No, I'm not. I'm not out of line. I wish you would live like I had to live the last few years. No, I'm not out of line.
I think you were out of line. I'm asking you to step down right now. Thank you. Next.
I'm Rich Peets, Rich Peets Construction Company, and 4 years ago, this is dealing with the one side, south side of Ralph Rogers, from Western Avenue to Old Yankton Trail. 4 years ago, I went into the engineering department and asked them, is there going to be a sidewalk on that side of the street? They told me no, it was only going to be on the north side of the street. No sidewalk on the south. I didn't think too much of that because between Western and Minnesota, that's fairly common. There's whole sidewalk on the north side, south side only has partial sidewalk. Now we get the letter that says we have to put the sidewalk in there. Well, we put trees where this sidewalk goes, which is about 15 feet off the curb. This sidewalk, as they're setting it back that far, will hit those trees now as they're going to be moved. Now, we did talk briefly to some of the engineers and to suggest that they let us put the sidewalk closer to the street, like 2 feet behind the curb or 3 feet behind the curb instead of the 10 feet behind the curb or 12 feet, whatever it is now. He said the street may get widened, but I don't think Ralph Rogers is ever going to get widened because it doesn't go anywhere other than basic local traffic. We do now have bicycle trails painted on both sides of the street, and if we had to put a sidewalk in, we would very much like to be able to move that closer to the curb, but that's never going to get changed anyhow. Therefore, we wouldn't have to move a whole row of trees.
Chad, can you address that, please? Thank you very much for that. Just a second. You can stay up here if you want. Go ahead.
We, on a daily basis, work with property owners on where they put their sidewalks, and if we can avoid trees, we make some accommodations to move those trees, or we make accommodations to move the sidewalk.
Will you work with him on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure he talked to Jan Clary.
Stay in touch with Chad, or Chad, stay in touch with him, get his address and phone number, and stay in touch and work with him on that, would you? Thank you. Others? Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Floyd Hunking. I live at 6706 South Bellwood, and I'm representing property owners who live along Lindcrest Street, a street that is proposed for new sidewalks. There are a number of property owners here, and I'd like to have them be recognized.
Okay, thank you.
I have lived at this address on Bellwood for 5 years and was assured when I purchased our property that sidewalks would never be placed on the backside of our property, which abuts Lindcrest Avenue. Sidewalks are in place on the front part of our lot along Bellwood Avenue. So there are sidewalks running across the front of the property, but not in the back. This street has 8 twin homes located on lots which are very deep, which are not very deep. If sidewalks are placed as proposed, the sidewalk will be 18 feet from our back porch. 18 feet. So we'll have a sidewalk very, very close to our back door, 18 feet. Trees and shrubs have been planted and sprinkler systems installed with the understanding that sidewalks would not be placed on the property. So if sidewalks were in fact required, shrubbery would be moved, sprinkler systems would have to be redone, and the sidewalks would be located in a spot that I think all of you would understand would not be very comfortable for us. Snow removal on the proposed sidewalks would be problematic, as reaching the backside of the property with a snow blower would be very difficult or impossible, as passage between the twin homes is usually blocked with snow in the winter. It would be very difficult to get back there unless we shoveled those sidewalks by hand. There does not appear to be a safety issue that I can see. Children walking to Journey Elementary School would use the front sidewalk on Bellwood Avenue. All the property on the east side of Lindcrest, on the east side of Lindcrest Avenue, is commercial. The Eye Institute, another large office complex, and some other buildings, 2 other buildings to go in on that street. They have sidewalks. So sidewalks are available for folks using Lindcrest if they use the east side of the street and walk on that sidewalk. We want to be good, responsible neighbors and citizens. We fail to understand the logic of the resolution. We hope that you will agree with us that we do have a point, particularly since we were assured early on when we bought the twin homes that we would not need sidewalks placed in the back area. In conclusion, I'd like to just make a mention of the excellent cooperation I've received from the city. When I first received the letter saying we needed sidewalks, I started calling City Hall. And I was always treated very courteously, very promptly, and very professionally. And whatever the outcome of this issue, I want you to know that. Those folks treated me very, very well, were very attentive to my concerns, and I thank them for that. So thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Lloyd. Questions? Go ahead.
I have a question for Chad. It's been a while since I built my house, 14 years or so. But when you build a house, and I presume a builder that built the twin homes had to present a building plan, and aren't the sidewalks a part of the plan?
Typically, well, let's back up to like when we received the development plan. On those plans, sidewalk is never shown, particularly on the plans. It's just, I mean, for the last, 10, 20 years, we've never stated or differentiated between what side of a street gets sidewalk. The ordinance is very clear that both sides get it. So when we review a set of construction plans, the sidewalk's never shown, but design standards and ordinance require sidewalk on both sides of the streets. Now, when a building, when somebody comes in to obtain a building permit, they do bring in a site plan, and I've looked at all the building permits issued to the builders of these properties, and there's the box on the permit that says sidewalks required, and every one of those says yes.
Okay, so if sidewalks are required, how did they, don't you get a certificate of occupancy or something that says you passed your inspection?
That is not, they do not hold up certificates of occupancy if the sidewalk is not in.
I don't know who to address this to, but the landowner said that they had not, or they were under the understanding they did need a sidewalk behind there. Was that anything in writing? Was that just a verbal statement? I see the developers here. Maybe there's a connection here.
Go ahead. Come on.
Darrell Varick, 812 South Minnesota Avenue. If you look at those, if you look at Lindcrest, where it dead ends down there in the Landscape Garden Center property, and you follow that north all the way up to 69th Street, there's not one residence that faces that street. There's nobody that faces Lindcrest, not one residential street. And years ago when I was working on the railroad deal on the south end of town, I had a meeting with Lyle Johnson and Steve Metley at Lyle's office, and I won't go into the details on how the railroad deal came about, but I ended up asking Lyle Johnson at that time when we were submitting this plan. I said that those lots are really short on that side. They're going to be twin home lots, and that Lindcrest Street, I think, is 39 feet wide. I think it's as wide as a collector street in the development. And I said there's going to be sidewalks on the east side of the street. The whole distance over there will require that on all the office property, because we have a half a mile of Lindcrest in there that we put in there, and the sidewalks went in on the east side of the street. Well, my deal with Lyle was on that railroad deal, I said, okay, can I do this deal here without having sidewalks on the front and the back, because it's the only way that this is going to work, because nobody's going to buy these lots with this double sidewalk. And he said, yeah, that's no problem as long as you make sure there's sidewalk across the street. Well, I saved the city over $1 million on that railroad purchase, because the city was looking at buying it at 1.7. I got it bought for $500,000, sold it to the city for $550,000, and Lincoln High got their land for free. So the only thing I'm asking at this point is that the city keep their word, because I did my job.
Questions?
And there was never any sidewalk issue ever brought up taking out the building permits.
Questions? Ken?
Darrell, all those places on Bellwood, does any of them have rear access from Lindcrest?
No.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Vernon.
Any other questions?
Question for Chad, actually.
No, go ahead.
Chad, the concerning thing for me is all the residents that have heard from supposedly the city that they didn't need sidewalk there. What has changed?
I'm not aware of anything that's changed. We've talked to the gentleman that Darrell referred to. They stated that they did not waive sidewalk requirement, nor did they have the authority to waive something that's in city ordinance.
Wow.
Chad, I'm looking at this here, and I know when this development came about, because I was certainly in Sioux Falls as it developed. But when we're doing the construction plan or something, why can't we design, and every year when we do these sidewalks, or the assessments every 6 months, whenever it is, it's these back-to-back lots. People have got the sidewalk in the back and the front. Can't we go to IRAB and change this design standard so that we're not doing this type of a situation? Because I see it 1, 2, 3 times right in here, that people have got front and back sidewalks, and I would think that, I understand not wasting land, but knowing the terrain that's out there and stuff, I just think that we could have done this, or, their design team, whoever the engineers are, could have done a lot better job of just avoiding this type of situation to begin with. Are we heading that way with IRAB?
Well, this type of dual frontage lot is, there are issues that come up, and one of them is having sidewalk on both properties. And there has been some discussions, and some of the responses we've gotten is that, we'll develop. It works for us. It works for some people. We want to continue to develop these lots to utilize space and develop the land.
I understand that, but I would think that we would probably want it as a general rule, and I understand there's going to be that occasional situation where it just looks kind of unavoidable, and it may be the best situation, but every year we have this thing kind of come up because of the designs that in it. You didn't design them, obviously, but because it was designed that way, and I just can't help but think we could avoid a lot of heartache and people having to come down here if we in the future look at.
It's certainly an issue that I can bring up with IRAB.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. Or Kermit?
Yes. Chad, how old are these twin homes?
The permits were pulled in, I think, 05.
05. So
I looked at a couple of them. 05 is what I saw.
So 05. So here we are 4 years later. And you mentioned, we were talking earlier, of course, about there are many areas of the city where there are no sidewalks. And you mentioned that, well, if this is brought on a complaint basis, then we might force the issue. So did anybody bring a complaint about no sidewalks?
I'm not aware of a complaint.
So why are we trying to force this after 4 years?
It's just we did a survey of the area. In the last couple of years, there's more and more homes that are built that don't put sidewalks in their backyard, don't put it on their corner lots. And we are taking a more active approach to make sure that they're following ordinances and doing what their building permit requires.
I guess the point I'm saying is this is not really fair, because in Central Sioux Falls, I know areas where there are no sidewalks, and we're saying that, well, if we're going to force sidewalks, we have to have a complaint basis. Now we move south here, and this area is just 4 years old, but now we're not using the same standard of a complaint basis.
I consider this to be a newly constructed area.
It's 4 years old.
Vernon?
Chad, I'm just not comfortable moving forward with this tonight. I'm familiar with the area, but I haven't been out there lately. I would like to defer for a week, and if you can provide more of the history for us, and so we can get a better understanding, I would move to defer for 1 week.
To June 15th?
June 15th.
Okay, second?
I'd second that.
Okay, Costello seconds that. Motion before us is defer item 11 until June 15th.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment before we vote?
Go ahead.
So, it may be, and I'll make it a point to drive out there, I'm sure we all will, but maybe you could provide some pictures too when we discuss it again, so we can see how narrow that backyard is. But we never seem to, this is not the first sidewalk issue that we've had in the last few years. It always seems something boils down to the ADA. How does that impact this?
The ADA standards, require us to have a pedestrian route, and that there's accessibility to those routes.
Okay, well, what I was leading into is that in the next week or whatever we're going to take here, if we could address that issue, and if there's some alternatives that can be maybe brainstormed about so we can accommodate the ADA issue.
Well, I think it's, already covered because we have sidewalks on the east side, don't we?
Sidewalks where?
On the east side.
Well,
So
we can cover that, so we'll cover Councilmember Costello's question here. We've got a motion made by Brown and second by Costello to defer item 11 until June 15th. There's further comments?
Yeah, I guess, I think the issue is very clear, and I guess I'd just rather vote tonight to try to kill this. instead of dragging it out.
You have a chance to vote on this. We got a motion to defer. All in favor of the motion to defer, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present have voted, 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excused. It is deferred until June 15th. Item 12.
A resolution approving the Cooperatives Integrated Resource Plan, IRP, as required by the Energy Policy Act of 1992.
Good evening, Kevin Smith with the Office of Public Works. As we presented at the informational meeting earlier today, the IRP is required because we are customers of the Western Area Power Administration, an agency of the Department of Energy. This plan has to be submitted once every 5 years. It's been completed by Heartland Consumers Power District, our supplemental power supplier, as one of our membership services. And I would be willing to entertain any questions if you have any for either myself or Adam Graff from Heartland.
Questions of Kevin on item number 12. Others that wish to address the council on item number 12? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Brown moves, second by Costello. Motion to approve. Further comments? I see none, so all in favor of the motion to approve item 12, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present voted 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 12 has been approved. Item 13.
A resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gift to the City of Harrisburg a traffic signal controller, a traffic signal cabinet, and a conflict monitor.
The City of Harrisburg recently completed a study to determine the traffic impacts of their new high school. Recommendations out of that study included the widening of roads and the addition of turn lanes. However, they have issues with right-of-way, costs, timing, and constructability. A temporary solution they have is to install a traffic signal on the Willow Street entrance to the high school. The city has a traffic signal controller, cabinet, and conflict monitor that are outdated, and replacement parts are no longer available. This resolution will gift this equipment to the City of Harrisburg.
Questions of Chad on item 13. Others that wish to address the council on item number 13? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So move. Anderson.
Anderson moves, second.
Second. Jamison.
Jamison seconded. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve item 13, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Council members Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
All members present voted. Item 13 has been approved 7 yes, 1 excused. Item 14.
A resolution declaring it necessary to levy and levying a special front foot assessment fee for street maintenance and repair.
Galen Huber, Street Utility Manager. This afternoon, I gave you a presentation on the street front footage assessment and our recommendations for 2010. By city ordinance, the City Council is required by resolution to authorize on an annual basis the county to collect front foot assessment for the City of Sioux Falls. And it's our recommendation that for the fiscal year 2010, we have no increases, that we keep it at $1 per front foot.
Questions again?
Yes. At the informational, Galen, I think you mentioned that you're going to get a study group together to take a look at maybe increasing it for next year. Is that right?
We'll take a look at studying it to see whether or not we need to increase it for fiscal year 2011.
Okay.
Further questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 14? Not. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second. Brown.
Brown seconds. Further comments on that motion? I see none,
Yes.
so all in favor, vote.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. I mentioned at the informational that, this is just renewal of a frontage tax. And with taxes, we normally have 2 readings. We don't have 2 readings here. It's just tonight, and that's it. Very few people are aware of this. We were earlier had a first reading on changing the name of a street, Bob Drive, to Canyon Avenue. So we're going to have a second reading on that next week. And I think it'd be good to have, in effect, a second reading next week on this. So I move that we defer this until our next meeting.
Is that a substitute motion? That's substitute motion?
Yeah, it would be.
Staggers can substitute motion to defer for 1 week. Is there a second to that motion? That motion dies for lack of second, so we're back to the main motion to approve the resolution. Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All members present have voted 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 excuse. Item 14 has been approved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Litz.
Let's move second.
Second, Jameson.
Jameson second. All in favor of adjournment, vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Councilmembers Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Stand adjourned. I'll see you in the morning.